Chicago. March 5, 1930. Southside gang boss John Dingbat Oberta takes his final ride. Oberta was partners with Southside beer baron Joe Saltus and his ace enforcer, Gangland psychopath Frank McErlane. By the late 20s, Saltus left Chicago for healthier environments in Wisconsin. Without Joe around, there was a falling out between Oberta and McErlane. 10 days before he was killed, Oberta and another man, probably his bodyguard, Sam Malaga, failed in an attempt to kill McErlane in his hospital room where he was recovering from a bullet wound to the leg. Paranoid and always ready for just such an ambush, McErlane drew a gun from under his pillow and opened fire on the duo as they tried to enter his room. A firefight ensued and, though wounded 3 times, McErlane managed to force the gunman to retreat. "Look for them in a ditch," he told police when questioned about the shooting. "That's where you'll find them." Sure enough, less than 2 weeks later, Oberta's car was found in a ditch. He was in the front passenger seat with the back of his head smashed like a pumpkin thanks to a shotgun blast. Malaga was found next to the car in the icy waters with numerous bullet wounds. Here is the Dingbat and happier times with the missus. It wasn't the first time she would wear black. Her first husband, labor racketeer Big Tim Murphy, friend and supporter of Oberta, was machine-gunned on his front lawn 2 years earlier. Too bad the Dingbat didn't pay attention to the old Gangland adage. If you are going to draw on the king of the crazies, you'd better not miss. Detroit. July 27, 1929. The Motor City bids adieu to mobster Irving Shapiro, who had the distinction of being the first member of Detroit's Purple Gang to be taken for a ride. At approximately 3 a.m., the body of the 25-year-old gangster was hurled from an automobile after having 3 bullets pumped into him from behind. The first pierced his brain and exited below the right eye. The other 2 plowed into his back after he fell forward. Why Shapiro was knocked off is unknown. A few days prior to his murder, a handful of purple gangsters were carted off to prison to serve 2 years on a bootlegging charge. Perhaps it was rivals coming out to poach, now that the gang was weakened. More probable is that he was bumped off by his own cronies. There may have been a fallout over a ransom payment for a kidnapping. Either way, Shapiro was done, and his murder wouldn't be the last. New York. September 20th, 1932. Brooklyn gangster Edward "Red" Patterson gets tough and pays the price. Red was a lifelong criminal with a record containing everything from juvenile delinquency to homicide. He had been on the spot for some time. His rivals tried to get him in a speakeasy a few weeks earlier on September 3rd, but only managed to wound him. Unfortunately, the bartender got in the way and was killed. Red was brought in for questioning during the investigation. While there, Assistant Chief Inspector Sullivan warned him, "You're going to get yours. You think you are a very tough guy, but that South Brooklyn mob is just a little bit tougher. If you take my advice, you'll get out of the city, out of the country, as quick as you can." Red's response? "There ain't nobody tougher than me. Don't worry about me, I can take care of myself." The South Brooklyn mob that Inspector Sullivan was referring to. That was the gang belonging to mafioso Anthony Carfano, aka Little Augie Pisano. It was reported that Patterson, who was released from Sing Sing the previous May, was trying to push beer into Carfano's territory. As tough as Red may have been, they got him. His body was found at the base of a stairwell in a cheap rooming house at 6:30 a.m. He had been severely beaten and shot in the head 4 times. He didn't live at the house, and anyone who did claimed not to hear anything. The landlady stated that she heard what she thought was a car backfiring at 4 a.m. Police surmised that what she thought was an automobile was actually Red meeting his maker. You can read about more New York City gangsters who were bumped off during the Prohibition era in these ebooks. Links are below.